Hello everyone, I'm Lara Jane, the developer evangelist here at Automation Anywhere. Today, I'm going to show you what to expect once you migrate version 11 bots that contain Metabots built with DLLs. I'm going to make the files available for you, and I'm going to show you what they look like on version 11, but we are going to jump ahead on 8.3.16 in no time. This process is one of our bot games challenges that uses a web page, a legacy app, and an API to gather some information and input that into a web page. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what that does because we have another tutorial about that. I'm going to share the link with you down below. But this is what the bot looks like. We start creating a couple of folders, and then we will open a web page, we download the legacy app, and we get some data from that legacy app, and then we use the Metabots to gather some information from an API, and that's what the DLL does. And then after we have all of that data, we input that into the web page. And that's basically the process. We have the legacy app, which we use to gather the information from the app downloaded. And we also have the Metabot, in which we have 3 assets and 2 logics. So let me show you that. We have 2 logics, one for each piece of data, and 3 assets. This is the main DLL which gathers the information, and 2 DLLs that we use to as dependencies to that one. And we could have done with only 1 logic, but we did 2, so you can see what each logic looks like in A360. So what we can do now is go ahead and go to our A360 environment. You can follow this along on Community Edition. And even before we migrate, think about the folder structure that you have in place. Some companies have their own best practices for a folder structure. They sometimes gather the tasks according to the area, according to the process, department. So ask about that, and once you migrate, you can put the bots directly in the folder, in the correct folder, because after we migrate, we are going to fix a couple of things, mostly path related, and you don't want to keep doing that if you keep moving things from folder to folder. So figure out your folder structure, get things organized, and then we can start migrating. So I have my bot in here, my folder. And to migrate, we are going to create a bot that migrates things for us. So I have here, I'm going to create the bot migration bot. And inside this bot, we are going to use the bot migration action. So if you search for migration, you see that we have the migrate legacy bot. We are going to use that action to point to our ATMX and mbot files in order to migrate them. And since we only have 3 files, this is a pretty quick process. And this works especially well if you have a one-off bot that you need to migrate. So I'm pointing to my master bot. I'm grabbing another action, and I'm going to point to my legacy app task, which is the other one that we use in there. And I'm also using a third action of the bot migration package to migrate our Metabot. So pointing to that, and I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to hit run. So keep in mind that this is not the only way to migrate bots, and the whole migration process consists, simply put, of 3 phases. The first one is where you assess the compatibility of the control room, of the bots, and you can do that with the automation or documentation, and also with the bot scanner utility. On the second phase is where we actually migrate the whole control room, and on the third phase, which is where we would be at, is where we migrate the bots. And using the bot migration package, you can point to each bot directly, like I did in here, because we have only 3 files, but you could also use that action in a loop and loop through each file in a folder in order to migrate all of them. But don't forget to add conditional statements to make sure that you're only grabbing ATMX and mbot files, and also error handling and all that good stuff. And once we migrate, we're going to take a look at what the Metabot looks like. So we just got that done, and let's see what the Metabot looks like. So we already have a new folder in here, which is the get employee data. And if you remember, this is the name of our Metabot, so get employee data. And we have 2 logics and 3 assets. And if we go to that set folder, you see that we have 2 tasks, which previously they were logics, now they are tasks, and 3 DLLs. So let's see what each task looks like. So pretty simple. We have each task looking for an active DLL session. If that doesn't exist, it opens a session with our DLL, with the HR onboarding API DLL. And after that, it runs the function phone number to get the phone number. And we have all that set up in here. We don't need to change any of that. We can leave it at like that. But the only thing that we need to change is on the action above it, on the open session, because we changed we didn't change it yet, but I'm going to change it because I don't want to keep my files all over the place. So what I'm going to do is get the employee data folder. I'm going to put that inside the folder that I created because I want to keep things organized and keep the things related to the same process in one place. So I just changed where that is. So right now this is not going to work if I try to run it. So what I need to do is change where that DLL is. And I'm going to do that by pointing to the folder that I just created. And I'm going to point to the HR onboarding API DLL, which is the one that hits that endpoint. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other task. You see that it's the same thing, opening a session. So we just need to change the DLL that session is going to use. So same thing, same DLL, and that's pretty much it for our Metabots and DLLs. What we need to do now is take a look at our other bots. They were output on our root folder, which is our bots folder. And let's start with our master bot. As you can see, we have a couple of errors in here, which are mostly path related. You can see this is path related, we have another one in here, which is path related, and they're mostly because of the absolute path. We had in version 11 this one, the AA application path. And I created this folder where I'm going to put my runtime files and create those folders. Ideally, on a production enterprise environment, you would have those settings in an outside config file, like an XML or a JSON or whatever file that is, that would be outside outside your bot. But here I'm keeping things hard-coded because the focus is the Metabots and the migration itself. But keep in mind that you can do a lot of tidying up because it is common to start small, and some companies are not familiar or not using all the best practices. But as you grow and as you have more bots, you learn a few different things, or you change things according to best practices of each company. So this is a good time to reveal if everything is being set up according to the best practices that you have in place. So let me fix my folder here, employee data migration. And the other paths are created based off of this one, so I can delete this string assign. I can delete this one, which is the same, doing the same thing as the one above it. I can also delete this one. And I can also delete this one because now we are going to check if the folder does not exist, and if it does not, then we are going to create the folder. So I can delete this one, and then I can change the folder path to error folder. And I can delete this one because I can point to that same variable. And now we are just doing some cleanup for each variable. You can see that we're now creating the log folder. So I'm just going to go over that quickly because we have a couple of them. And that's going to vary depending of how your bot is set up. But in this case, we only have these three folders being created. So log folder, insert, and now the snapshot folder. So again, changing the string that came like that to snapshot folder, insert. I can delete this one because I'm going to point to, snapshot folder. Awesome. So our first part in here is ready. Now let's see what else is needed. We are now assigning the employee list zip to a new string file, and then we're unzipping it. So one thing that you can do in here is, instead of leaving it as m string starting path, I'm going to create a new variable, which is the zip file path. And I'm going to create and select that, and then now I'm unzipping that same variable. So let me search for zip file path, insert. Awesome. So that looks much better. I can now see that I'm just putting everything inside that variable and unzipping that to that specific folder. This is one of the things that you can optimize once you migrate, and you'll have a couple of other things to check. And here I'm just going to remove the legacy bits of this folder just to have it up and running quickly, because I want to focus on another thing up there. So just remove the legacy bit, and you can leave the rest in here. Ideally, again, on an enterprise environment, on a production environment, you should change those variables to their actual names and what purpose they serve. But here I'm just fixing them so they can run, because I already showed you the best practices up top. Okay, so we have a couple of things that we need to fix in here. As you know, this master bot uses another legacy task, which we migrated, but it is not at this specific path anymore. So if we try to run this, it is going to tell me that it cannot find, or it cannot locate this specific task. So what we need to do is change the control room file to where it's pointing and hit our legacy app, but it's not. Let me actually make sure that I put it in the right folder. Right, so I didn't put it in the right folder. So before I do that, I'm gonna get this legacy app task in its designated folder, which is my developer portal employee data migration folder. Yes, and I'm going to update that. Awesome. So I can close this one, and now I can grab my legacy task bot. So it's not showing me anything in here, which is exactly what I wanted. And inside my folder, yes, awesome. We can see the legacy app task. I'm going to quickly map our variables. So it looks like we have everything in here. Let me hit save. And now for the Metabot part of this task, let's take a look at what we need to do in here. We have the task bot running this task, but they're not in this folder anymore. So we also need to change where this action is pointing. So documents, we have bots. In this case, this is the folder structure that I have. I know that they are in this folder. So this is the get date, right? The get date. So I'm choosing it, and then I'm also quickly mapping my variables. And I know that this action, this task, and this logic, I know that each of them outputs only one variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quick map our variables in here, and that's enough so I can keep using them like this, employee start date, mapping to it. And then we can make sure that we have the right variable with the legacy task in here, legacy action. So it's returning employee start date to employee start date. Awesome, that's what we wanted. So I can go ahead and delete that. And for the get phone, we are going to do almost the same thing. We are going to point to the new place where the task is. So I'm pointing to get phone. I'm going to quickly map our input variables, which are the employee ID. And for the output variables, you don't want to quickly map them because, as you can see right down below, it is outputting the V phone number to employee phone. So make sure you pay attention to where each variable is going. So I'm going to add variable mapping. I'm going to choose the key phone number, and I'm going to map it to employee phone. And then I can delete this one. Okay, and let's see what else we need to change in here. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm not sure. So let's just hit run. Let's hit run and see what happens. If we face an error, then we can fix it. That's mainly the things that you want to look for once you migrate version 11 bots that contain Metabots. As you can see, we migrated the Metabot and it output 5 files for us. And we actually need only one of the DLLs. We don't need all 3 now because A360 takes care of what those 2 other dependent files did for us on version 11. We were pointing to the DLL, that is the HR onboarding API, and it is using that to run the function, and now it is placing everything in each field, and it looks like we didn't forget anything because it's getting everything correctly. Which is awesome. So I think this is my cue to talk to you about bot games and dev portal. As I mentioned, this is one of the challenges that we released on bot games, which is an online global event that you can join. We have all of our previous challenges from bot games on developer.automationanywhere.com. So if you want to see what this challenge is about, if you want to build this challenge from scratch directly on A360, you can go ahead and check the links that I'm going to leave down below. And if you think that we missed anything, if you want to see something else in more detail, leave a comment, let us know in our socials, and we can get to you. And we can talk more and make more videos. You can talk to us on A-People, all that good stuff. Let's give this a moment to get that pretty models showing that we got everything correct, because that's like the best part. It's so satisfying. And I think that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Let me just refer to my notes and see if I'm not missing anything. Yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget to leave your comments, share your thoughts if you missed anything. Metabots were used on version 11 to be reusable assets, and now we have tasks, we have bots, and don't have that separation anymore. So all of them, everything is all of the metabots are tasks now, and the bots are also tasks, so it's easier for us as developers to navigate the day-to-day activities of developing, because we have the same standard type of bot. And consider this an opportunity to build your own library of helper bots, of utility bots, because once you break down bots in smaller steps, you can reuse them more, so you can expand your library. So that's basically it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.